First off, I want to thank the grace of heaven and the virtues of the masters, the mercy of the grand predecessors, transmitting masters, and everyone here today for the opportunity to talk about this topic, create a happy and fulfilling life. Okay. Actually, the Chinese, yeah, it's probably a little bit more. It says 创造幸福美满人生. Yeah, 美满 you can say maybe it's fulfilling. 幸福 could be happy, could be like fortunate or blessed, blessed. Okay. So, anyways, all right. Let's see. Oops. Okay. All right. So I believe that we all want a happy and fulfilling life, or we all want to be happy, anyways. I don't think there's anyone who does not want to be happy. However, we are, there are less than ideal conditions in life, right? Including the 8 sufferings, which the 8 sufferings are birth, aging, sickness, and death, right? That we've talked about before. And also having unfulfilled desires and wants, right? A lot of things that we seek or that we want, that we desire, but we can't get it, or we don't. Yeah, I mean, we can't get it, or maybe we can't achieve it. Right? There's I think there's some songs like Rolling Stones, right? It's like can't get what you can't. Well, that's can't get satisfaction, but but anyways, similar thing. Or we can be separated from loved ones, okay? Or more generally, we are separated from the thing, or the things that we like, or that we want, or can't live without, right? So that's kind of the opposite. Well, sorry, no, that's not the opposite, but sorry, that so yeah, so the things that we want and we don't have it, it is kind of similar to that other one. I mean, the other one is saying that, well, we haven't gotten it yet, but we can't get it. And then this one is saying that, okay, so we have something, but then now I don't have it, right? So, and then the next one would be contact with those we dislike, okay? Or more generally, the thing or the things that we dislike, okay? So, so this is the opposite of that previous one there, of not being not having the things that you love, or not being with the ones you love, or having the things that you like. This is being with those that you hate or dislike, or being in situations that you dislike, any of those things. Okay, so and this is we deal with this all the time as well. Okay, and then the last one is basically the illusion or delusion created by the 5 skandhas, which we've talked about many times before in various topics. These are form, sensation, conception, volition, and consciousness. Okay, so this is the Buddha's explanation of why I guess why we suffer. I guess this is how we view or how we experience the world, right? Is through the forms and through the sensation or perceptions, and then the conception within our mind, and then volition, which leading to action, and then also the consciousness or attachments. So this is, that would be kind of the Buddhist view of things, but but it's all true. Okay, so all these 8 sufferings, what we call the 8 sufferings, or what Buddha calls the 8 sufferings, yeah, they they're called sufferings. So obviously, when we're suffering, we're not happy. Okay, I mean, you might call them also afflictions. Okay, might be a little bit more general word to use than sufferings. But either way, there are many, all of these eight, well, we can't avoid the first four, okay? The birth, aging, sickness, and death. That's a given for any anyone who's born, okay? And then these other four are due to our, I guess the circumstances of life, okay? So these are things that we have to deal with, and therefore we are not happy all the time, and probably happy less than half the time, perhaps, due to all these things, right? And then on top of that, of course, then we have karma, predestiny, or called predestiny or karmic fate. Okay, so this is then the things that we are out of our control. We can't control these things in our lives, right? The karma is things that we brought with us from previous lives, from the things that we did previously, and now it's, that we're seeing the results. And so these, for the most part, we can't avoid these, and so these happen, and then that obviously can make us unhappy. Okay, depending on what it is, whether it's an accident happens, or there's some, get financial ruin, or some other disasters, or being in a bad relationship. All these things could be karma, right? Caused by our karma, and of course that's all suffering. Okay, so so our life, and for the most part, we are not happy. We're not we're not happy all the time, and things you can say is not satisfactory, right? This is the current state, or this is probably the default state, maybe, that we're in most of the time, and but we want to get to this state of being happiness, okay, and everything is satisfactory. So how do we get from the not happy state to the happy state? So how do we achieve that, right? So that's the $1 million question here. It's actually this. How do we do this? Well, okay. We'll get into what it is. All right. Oops. Oh, okay. Yeah. So, anyways, how do we gain satisfaction and happiness? Okay. So, but first, what is happiness? Now, I think for most, we usually talk about happiness as or being happy as an emotion, right? We're happy, or we're sad, or we're angry. I mean, these we typically consider them to be emotions. Yeah, that's true. But ultimately, there's I don't know, maybe happy wouldn't be the right word, but the joy, or that satisfaction, internal satisfaction, maybe is more what we're trying to get at. But okay, so happiness. I mean, one way to look at it is that, well, it's physical well-being, right? We have wealth or material possessions. That's that makes a lot of people happy, right? When people have money, they have wealth, they can buy things that they want. They can eat what they want, do all sorts of things. And so for many people, probably for most people, that's what defines happiness, I guess. Having those things, those material things, those external things, can make them happy. Okay. Now, that could also be comfort, right? So, yeah, because I have the money, the wealth, I can buy a big house, a mansion, right? I can I can live very comfortably. I can take vacations all the time, and all these things. So that's comfort, and so that's also what makes people happy. health, of course, is very important, although we kind of take it for granted sometimes. But yeah, I mean, when we're healthy, then we can do things, right? Do things that we want, and we can go vacation, we can do whatever. If we are healthy, if we are not healthy, if we are ill, we have some health condition, some illness, a disease, yeah, then that can cause suffering, right? Because that impacts on our life, right? Our everyday living. But of course, health also is not just physical health. There's also our mental health and our emotional health as well. Okay, so those things, all these different types of well-being, okay, can contribute to our being happy or not. All right. Then, say enjoyment. All right. So I mentioned earlier about taking a vacation and doing something, because we have the means to do so, right? If we don't have the means, we don't have the money. Oh, I can't, I can't go on vacation. I can't do the things that I would want to do. Then of course we're not going to get that enjoyment. And a lot of people, again, at least they'll be happy, when they do these things. Now, of course, it could also be just having good experiences, good or fun. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to be rich to have those good experiences or fun experiences either, of course. It could be, you could just be with your friends, just hanging out, or with family, right? So it's just, just being with others, okay, and sharing whatever your interests, and then so family and also family and friends, right? And then you have, what about maybe satisfaction? So what we're talking about here is like, for example, personal achievement, right? I accomplished something. I was able to learn something, and I can do something, right? I wasn't able to do before, or I was able to. I set a goal for myself, and I was able to achieve that goal, right? So there's a satisfaction to that, right? When you can do that, achieving some goal, and that can make us happy. Now. But what about, so all of these are kind of, if you notice, for the most part, they're all dependent on something, right? There's a dependence, like the wealth and materials, possessions, okay? So this is what we're saying is that happiness then depends on having these things, okay? Or happiness depends on us being comfortable, living a comfortable life, or being healthy. Now, this obviously this one, it's hard to avoid. I mean, if we're sick, we're living with pain, right? Discomfort all the time. Yes, it's hard to be happy. That's true, but still, it's possible. Okay, so it depends. But yeah, I have to admit that health is, that's one thing that's it affects us, not just our body but our mind as well. Okay, and then same thing with even though you might say, well, family and friends, they're very important, and they are, but again, it's what we're saying is that happiness then depends on others. Okay, so if you're alone and you're not with family and friends, right? So it's like that one of those the eight sufferings, right? Being separated from those you love or like. Then does that mean then you can't be happy, right? And and then also the achievement, the achieving a goal. If we set some goals. Obviously, it will be a disappointment if we set a goal for ourselves and we don't achieve it. That's always, yeah, that's possible. That's true, probably for a lot of people. But does that mean that, let's say, yeah, we have goals in our lives, so many goals. It could be short-term goals, long-term goals, small ones, big ones, whatever. Does that mean we cannot be happy until we've achieved any of these goals? Right? Let's say I want to become enlightened. I want to attain nirvana. Does that mean I have to wait until I'm dead to be happy? If I ultimately like to become a Buddha? Okay, so then that doesn't make sense. Okay, so this this is saying basically that happiness then is a goal that you're trying to achieve, that you're trying to get to. All right. So this is not, I would say then that's like the wrong view of, or the, of happiness. Okay. So it's not, that's not the right mindset. All right. So yeah, basically, all these things have some external dependencies. Okay. Now you might say the goals are not necessarily external, but in other words, these things all have, happiness in this definition, if you will, has a dependency on something else. And whenever you have some dependency on something else, then of course, then it depends on that, right? So if you don't have that, then you're not going to be happy. So then that makes it difficult, because some things you can't control, right? Some things are very difficult to control in your life. You can't always control everything. Therefore, does that mean we are doomed to not be happy, right? Okay, so that's something that we have to keep in mind, that this is kind of like the common view of what happiness is, or the common perception that happiness depends on these things, right? Let's see. Yeah, actually, there's, but we know, and probably everyone here knows someone who is, maybe they are wealthy, they have a lot of things, or they have a pretty comfortable life, or maybe they're very healthy, or any of these things. But we know that they are not always happy, right? And this includes ourselves, okay? Right? So, we can have any of these things, but we are not always happy, right? If you ask look at those billionaires, right? They certainly have the wealth and the possessions, the comfort, health. Well, health depends. And they certainly have achievements, and all these things. Okay, a lot of these things. But are they always happy? Not really. So then what is really, if we want to be happy, it should be what I would call true happiness, which is you're always happy, right? Happy may not be the right word to use here, maybe, because if happy is an emotion, then we talk about not having these emotions, right, in cultivation, ideally, because these emotions, then they kind of control, they dictate how we, well, obviously how we feel, but then what we do, and it affects our lives. Okay, so ultimately, what I would say true happiness, well, maybe satisfaction, contentment, is really, should be, it should always be there, right? So that is really a state of being, or a state of mind. Okay. Now, yeah, so there's this Hollywood director, called, his name is Tom Shadyac, right? So he's a director. He's pretty successful, and most directors, they're pretty wealthy. They have a mansion and all that kind of stuff. But he wasn't happy. He wasn't happy until he basically downsized. He got rid of a lot of his wealth. I mean, he downsized and kind of like live in a trailer, and he got rid of a lot of stuff. I mean, instead of he rides his bike. So then he was happy. So so yeah, we should not the what society and what you can say special interests, business interests, right? They all want you to buy stuff. They want you to have make money, get more things. The more things you have, the more happy you will be, right? And that is clearly the wrong message. We should not buy into that message, right? That's capitalism, okay? So that's not good. All right. So, all right. So what are the qualities of happiness? It's not absolute, right? It's neither absolute nor quantifiable, right? How do you measure happiness? Sure, we have those surveys, right? Give you on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being you're just super happy, you're in cloud 9, 1 is you're in the dumps, whatever. Okay, you can use a scale, but that scale is not absolute, right? It's relative. It's still relative because everyone, what I consider to be a 10 may not be a 10 for someone else, right? So it is not absolute, and you still can't quantify it. It's like you can't measure it. Science cannot measure how happy you are. So that's something that makes it kind of it's hard to pin down. Okay, and so really we're getting to this thing that says it's an intangible state of mind that is experienced personally and individually, and that is really the key. Okay, that everyone experiences happiness differently. All right, even those, right? So even if you say, oh, it's based on wealth, so you take 2 billionaires and they experience happiness differently, right? So it's all relative, and the experience is personal, it's individual, and it's not quantifiable. It's this intangible state of being. Now how long happiness lasts, let's say we are happy, depends on our state of mind, right? So it depends on, our state of mind, basically. But that's better, I guess. You can say that's, it should be better than depending on external things, external conditions, right? That these things, okay? These are all, you can say they're all kind of external, because, like I said, these things are not necessarily, you can't necessarily control all these things, especially when you take into consideration, say, our karma, or, not everyone can be a billionaire, not everyone can be a millionaire, and so not all of us can have that much wealth and comfort or even health, right? We try to be healthy, but some people are predisposed to having illnesses, conditions, health conditions, things like that, that maybe it's out of their control, right? So a lot of things are out of our control, and so we really don't want happiness or being happy to depend on those things that we can't control. right? So what's the only thing that we really can control? It's ourselves, right? It's our mind. It's what's going on in our mind, right? We always talk about this in cultivation, right? It's in our mind. Everything is in our mind. It starts in our mind and ends in our mind, right? Before I always say, like, we have to flip that switch in our mind, right? The difference between happiness or being happy and not being happy is just it's in our mind. Okay, so there's a saying, right? The difference between heaven and hell is in the span of one thought. Okay, so it's the same thing, right? You can say heaven is happiness, hell is it's not happy, it's it's suffering. Okay, so it's all in the mind, right? The problem that most people, you can say sentient beings have is they believe happiness is external and depends on those other things because, right, they experience happiness through the five skandhas, right? But that's only an illusion, right? Doesn't give you true lasting happiness. Okay, right? And the five skandhas, right, is already mentioned, I don't know, maybe, form, sensation, conception, volition, consciousness. So it's going through this process. This is an internal process that kind of, unfortunately, we kind of believe in this process. We are attached to this process that makes us believe that, everything going through our experience through these five skandhas is real. Okay, so, but reality is also in the mind. Reality, we say that there is an absolute reality, right? The Dharma Dhatu, the Dharmakaya, or whatever. But we as humans, as sentient beings, don't experience that. What we experience is the five skandhas, and that is not the true reality. Okay, so, but we can actually experience that true reality if we aren't bound by these five skandhas. Okay, so again, it is up to us, right? We can control that. Actually, that's because anything that's in our mind we can control. I mean, for most people, for many people, they say, well, they can't help it, right? They do something, they say something, they think something, they feel something, and they say, I can't help it. It's just it just happens. Okay, there's certain things like we have some predisposition for having certain temperament, habits, things like that. That's true, but ultimately, so that's why the practice, right? We're going to talk about the six paramitas, the concentration, the wisdom, these things, and all the other practices. They help us to achieve that control of the mind. All right, we have to control the mind. All right? If we don't control our mind, then we will never achieve that true happiness. Okay, we will never achieve. Well, we probably it'll be very difficult to cultivate successfully. Okay, so right. So now, there's a saying, right? We should count our blessings, right? We should, in everyday life, there are all these, despite all these, the sufferings, the eight sufferings, any other dissatisfaction that we might have, there is always something to appreciate, right? So we should learn to appreciate, we should learn to be grateful, learn to be content. And it's not just something that we look for. We can look for, something positive, something good in all the bad, but we should view everything, even the bad, what we consider to be the bad, the suffering, as something that is I don't know, I would say good, but as a blessing. Okay, so everything is a blessing in disguise, right? Karma, the things that happen to us that is out of our control, that's typically how the karma is, you can say, a blessing in disguise. I mean, yeah, we are paying back some karmic debts, okay? But again, obviously that's, that's a fact, right? That's happening. But how we view it then matters, right? We can decide how we view that karma. Okay. We can say, well, yeah, okay, this sucks, why did this happen to me? Or we can say, okay, I realize, yes, it is my karma. I did something bad in the past, and now I'm, suffering the consequences. And I repent. Okay. I appreciate this opportunity to pay back my karmic debts. Right. So, and I'm grateful, to, grateful and repentant. When we have this attitude, this mindset, that will change. That can actually, it's a positive. Obviously, that's a positive mindset. And of course, the Buddhists teach us always to have this positive mindset. Why? This mindset, the mind is very powerful, right? The mind, what we put in our mind, what our mind is set on, kind of moves us in that direction. So if we want our life to be happy, then our mindset should be set on happiness, right? Set on the things that we need to do to be happy, right? Right. So even though in this, while we are quote unquote in these sufferings, we don't have to, suffer emotionally or mentally. Okay, maybe we are physically suffering pain, right? Discomfort, but emotionally and mentally, and you can say spiritually, we don't have to be suffering. Again, that's ultimately what counts, right? And ultimately that will change. I mean, we can overcome physical pain and discomfort through the mind, okay, by focusing the mind. Now, it's not easy to achieve that. That's probably most people probably aren't able to do that. But actually, if we focus the mind on good things, on positive things, yeah, in a way, you can say it can distract. We are distracting ourselves away from that suffering. Okay. That's kind of like the first level, is to kind of use the positive as a distraction from the suffering. Obviously, at the highest level, that suffering doesn't even exist. Okay, so but most of us, we're not at that level. Okay, so count our blessings. Everything we view as being positive, as being something good. Okay, and so we have to appreciate, be grateful, and be content. And these things, it's an internal satisfaction. So this is what can drive that happiness. Okay. Now these things, remember, these all three, appreciation, being grateful and being content, they don't depend on anything. They come directly from our mind, and they originate from our mind, have no they are self-sufficient, okay? There is no dependency on anything else. And therefore, this is within our control, okay? This is something that we can do, right? It's just changing our mindset, changing our view, our point of view, our perspective on things. All right, so don't let those 5 skandhas drive us crazy, cause us suffering needlessly. All right, we can control whether we are happy or not. Okay, and that, you know, so that's the key to you know, the lasting happiness, really true happiness. All right, and then so, you know, that's why the Buddhas or Bodhisattvas have the 4 immeasurable minds, right? They have this infinite loving kindness to give love and happiness to others, right? The boundless compassion to save others from suffering or to suffer for others, have limitless happy joy to rejoice in the welfare of others, infinite equanimity and relinquishment to yield and give up all for others. I mean, this is the ultimate happiness. When you can do all these, right? If this is your mindset, there is no suffering. There will be no suffering. This is probably, you know, kind of a little bit far removed, perhaps, from most of us, in being able to achieve, you know, obviously, you know, infinite. We say infinite. Well, you know, we're definitely nowhere near that. We are very limited. We have very limited loving kindness, right? Also compassion, you know, happy joy, and all these things, right? So, but as we get, so this is, you can say, broadening our heart and mind to encompassing all, as opposed to being selfish and just looking for our own, out for our own good. If we broaden that, I think we will find that we will be more happy. Okay, that we will not suffer as much. All right. So this is very important. That's why, yeah. I mean, this is ultimately, this is, you know, this is being selfless, right? No ego, no self. And that is the ultimate goal. And if we can get to the state of not having an ego, not having that any kind of self, you know, selfish, the desires, attachments, right, wants, things like that, then there will be no suffering, right? So that's the state that, the highest state of happiness, you know, that we can achieve, right? Okay. All right. Still on the introduction here. Okay. Creating a happy and fulfilling life is one's right, right? We all have the right to be happy. Right? Nobody can force us to be happy. And at the same time, nobody can stop us from being happy. Right? So we know that from our own experience. Everyone has experience, right? You know, we're not happy, and, you know, our parents or whoever, they're trying to make us happy, and it's just not working. Okay. But at the same time, if we want to be happy, nobody can stop us either, right? So that means that really, again, it doesn't depend on anyone or anything. Okay. Now, so, you know, do we want to be happy? Yes. I think everyone will raise their hand. Everyone wants to be happy. Now, only if we really want it can we achieve it. Okay. Now, this, yeah, okay, we definitely do want it. You need, I mean, you know, if we want it, okay, that's, in other words, we have to put our mind to it, okay, and not be distracted, so to speak. So we have to do what is necessary to be happy, right? And doing what's necessary, again, it's what we were just talking about in terms of the cultivation, the practice the mindset, we have to learn to have the right mindset. Okay. If we are just thinking like ordinary sentient beings about what happiness is, then we will not be able to achieve it. So the implication of the true happiness is that it's internally generated, right? We say that the Tao is one, right? Tao is one. The truth is one, right? Everything else is duality, right? This world that we live in is yin and yang. It's a duality. Everything is duality. How we relate to people, relate to things, situations, deal with things. It's all duality, right? We say, oh, it's good, it's bad, it's right, it's wrong. Okay, this is all duality. When we have a duality, it is neither true nor eternal. Okay, so the same with happiness, right? If it depends on duality, just like the examples we were talking about earlier, it depends on something outside, or whether it's outside or inside, it just depends on something else, then there's a duality, right? If it depends on different like the times, right? Like we having the three minds, right? The past, present, and future, right? Oh, right? Oh, the good old days, right? In the past. Yeah. Those were happy days when I was carefree and young, right? I didn't have to worry about anything. So to be happy, I just reminisce and keep thinking about the past. Well, so that's part of the three minds, okay? And the four images, of course, that's part of the duality aspect of, myself, right? Basically, you can say ego is that self, and then others, and that is basically, then you have that duality. So there's this distinction between me and you, right? Us and them. Okay, so that's a duality. And so when you have this, it cannot be true. It's not really true or eternal, right? So happiness cannot depend on these three minds and four images, right? Therefore, the true happiness is self-generated and self-sufficient, right? Because it comes purely from the mind, all right? Now, the other thing is, we shouldn't think that, oh, I want to be happy because, now, okay, although we were saying here, oh, we really want it. If we say, oh, I want it, that means that we don't have it, we're seeking something, right? So if we seek for something that's outside, well, we can't get it, then, we have afflictions, right? Suffering, right? So everything is false. Only happiness is true. So this is interesting. The things that we're pursuing, that we're seeking to gain happiness, to achieve happiness, those aren't the thing. That's not happiness, right? Happiness is not the money. It's not the big house. It's not the car. It's not all those things, right? Happiness is happiness, right? Happiness is state of mind, right? Now, of course, we do, in society, we certainly having an education, fame, wealth, these are all, people gain these things for happiness. But again, these are kind of going about it in the material way, the wrong way, the dualistic way, which is, you won't always be happy, okay? So we really shouldn't think that, oh, I want to be happy, because also that implies that happiness is a result, right? Result of getting those things, or a result of, or achieving something. Okay. So therefore, because if we cannot achieve it, then the result, then we won't be happy. Okay, so, right, so happiness is not a goal, but it's achieved in action, through our action, through the actions, through action. Okay, so it is, you can say that it's in the journey. Happiness is in the journey, right? So it's like, oh, it's not the destination, but it's the journey, getting from there here to there. So just like life, the purpose of life is not necessarily the destination, but it's this process, the living this life the right way, right? So we, well, we've talked about that in a previous topic. So, earlier, we asked, how can we go from not being satisfied and not happy to being satisfied and happy, right? It doesn't take a lifetime to achieve satisfaction and happiness. It is in the here and now, in the moment. Okay, so when I said that it is not in the three minds and the four images, okay, that's what in the moment means. That there is no attachment to the three minds, the past, present, and future, and or to the four images. Basically, this duality of self, others, sentient beings, and life or personality. Okay, so that once you get rid of all those, then we can live in the moment. We can be in the moment. When we are in the moment, we can be happy. We are happy. Okay. And we don't have to wait to try to get something or to achieve something to be happy. All right, so that's an important thing, right? So this is in cultivation, that's what we talk about, right? We should be in the moment. Okay. When we are in the moment, that state of mind, it does not depend on anything, right? It does not depend on the conditions, does not depend on whatever we have or not. None of that. We are in the moment. We are, you can say, in a state of happiness, state of bliss, state of satisfaction, call it whatever you want. But we are in that state. Okay. All right. So, how do we create happiness? If one wants happiness, then one must learn to be grateful, right? So that was one of the things that we talk about, being grateful. Says 感恩的人有福了. Okay, so a person of gratitude is blessed or fortunate or happy. All right. Sujun, our holy teachers, 18 patriarchs, says, right, gratitude is heaven, complaint is hell, right? Comfort and ease is the cliff, diligence is the Tao road, or the Tao path, laziness is the grave. Okay, so basically, yeah, so this is basically our state of mind. Are we grateful? Or are we complaining about things? Or are we, dissatisfied? Right? If we are grateful, then that is heaven. Then we are happy. If we are dissatisfied, then that is hell. We're unhappy. Okay, so this is, again, it's the state of mind. All right? Yes, we think, yeah, there are all sorts of things to complain about. But if we change our state of mind, say, just being grateful that I am alive, right? Despite these things that maybe are not satisfactory or not ideal, if I can be grateful, if I can just appreciate things, then I can be happy, right? So, like as like kids, right? Kids, yeah, they want stuff, right? They want things. They want the toy. And when they're playing with it, they're happy. When they don't have it, they're complaining, right? So and then they're not happy. They don't want to do anything, whatever. But yeah, I mean, sure. As a kid, maybe child doesn't know about appreciation and gratitude. Okay, That's more maybe an adult thing that we can understand those concepts, I guess. But yeah, it's like our parents. So sometimes we complain, right? We're not happy with them, whether they're, the things that they kind of force us to do, so to speak, or whatever that they want from us, expect of us, or maybe it's their own, they have some habits, whatever that we don't like, all sorts of things that we can complain about. But we should be grateful, right? We have parents that they raised us for one, right? We should appreciate what they've done for us, their sacrifice. Okay. We should always keep that in mind, right? So then we are in heaven if we can do that. We will be happy, right? If all we see is the negative stuff, or you're complaining, and we're in hell. Okay, we're suffering in hell. Okay, and yet we want to be happy. So that's kind of a contradiction. We want to be happy, and yet we are not happy, all because of what? We have to change our mindset. When we change our mindset, then there is no more contradiction. If we change our mindset to one of gratitude and appreciation, then we are happy. We want to be happy, and we are happy. There's no more want. It's just we are happy. We are in heaven. Okay. And so likewise, holy teachers talk about, when we are in comfort and ease, we have such an easy life, such a comfortable life. We've got to be careful. That is like you're living on the cliff, at the cliff edge, right? Things can turn around 180 degrees. Life is unpredictable, for one. And plus, if we get too comfortable and ease, then it's likely that we're going to end up maybe overdoing it, and we're going to suffer. Ultimately, we're going to end up suffering in the end as well. So really, diligence, hard work, sincere, put in the sincere effort to cultivate, to practice, to do the right things, to have that right mindset. Okay, that is the way of the Tao. And diligence, yeah, I mean, it's everything takes work. I mean, it's not easy. It's not like, you don't have to do anything and you can be happy. Then might as well just be like in a vegetative state and not but we have to work at it. We have to learn, we have to practice, cultivate. That's the diligence. We can't be lazy, right? If we become lazy, we don't do anything. For one, we're not going to be happy. I mean, yeah, people, right? They take drugs maybe to kind of relieve their stress, relieve their drugs or alcohol or whatever, to relieve stress and worries and things like that, and basically end up not doing anything, and you become worthless. I mean, yeah, useless. So, and that is our grave. That becomes a grave. We're not going to achieve anything. That's sad. So yeah, laziness. We can't be lazy. Cultivation means action, right? Diligent action. Cultivation. That's what cultivation is. We cannot be lazy and cultivate. That's a contradiction. That doesn't work. Okay. All right. Okay, so grasp the thought that one is the embodiment of happiness. Okay, so we should think that, yes, I am the embodiment of happiness. So again, this is a positive thought, positive thinking. Now, unfortunately, thoughts are difficult to grasp, right, in this we have a very capricious mind, capricious, fickle, constantly changing, unpredictable mind. Okay, that's why we practice, like letting go of all karmic affinities and not giving rise to a single thought. Now, it doesn't mean that we don't have thoughts, right? The thoughts, again, are devoid, have no three minds, no four images, okay? No attachments, no biases, no duality, no subjectivity, right? Those are pure thoughts, okay? So those are the thoughts that are fine. It's just that the normal thoughts that we have are subject to the three minds and four images and duality and subjectivity and all that. So those are, we don't want that. Okay, we have to get rid of those. But this requires, very high, is the highest practice of the mind nature. Okay, so yeah, this is Buddha nature practice, basically, right? So that's it. It's a high level, but everyone can practice, can try. We start from the external things, letting go, not have as many desires and wants, right? Kind of start, you can say, kind of detaching or distancing ourselves from the material things, all these the worldly stuff, and also the duality, the mindset of duality of liking and disliking, things like that, loving and hating, kind of getting away from that. Okay, so all the practice. So all those practices, right? They help us to get to this highest level of the mind nature, the Buddha nature. Don't think that one has only a limited place, restricting oneself and creating afflictions for oneself, right? So in other words, it's kind of like painting ourselves in a corner. We limit ourselves. We say, oh, this is me, right? This is all I can do. I can't do anything else. I don't want to do anything else. Right? This is kind of like that. The fourth of the four images, the last one, which is, you can say, personality or life. This is who we kind of identify with. We define ourselves as being that person, and with all these limitations. That's going to limit us, prevent us from being happy. Okay. The afflictions, of course, afflictions are, again, suffering, vexations, anxiety, annoyance, displeasure, anger, all those things. Okay. Yeah, when we limit ourselves in those ways, then we are going to create these afflictions. Okay. Because we can't go beyond. It's like, oh, this is the way I am. I can't, at the same time we're complaining that, oh, my life sucks, and yet we're saying, I can't do anything about it. But that's not true. We can't make $1 million, and we can't buy ourselves out of our suffering. Or the other things, but that's not really how we get out of the suffering, right? That's depending on something external. It's all in the mind. We really put some huge limitations on our mind, on our mindset, that we have a very limited mindset, and that prevents us from achieving happiness. Right. Okay. Oh. All right. Well, okay. I think we will. I guess we'll stop here, and then we'll continue and finish this next week. Yeah. I think this is, we'll just stop it here then. Okay, so if I had said anything wrong or not satisfactory, I asked the Buddhas for forgiveness, and also asked the Transmitting Masters and lecturers for their corrections. Thank you.